Hello, friend. You better get ready because today's episode is about to be fire. Today, we have the honor of having Hannah Obremskey on the podcast, and we are stoked. Hannah is 26 years old from Nashville, Tennessee, and she has been married to her childhood best friend, Nick, for 1.5 years. She moved to South Carolina to be with him as he started medical school, and she is now a published wedding photographer. Hannah has worked in the wedding industry for over 5 years with various roles, such as specializing in wedding day coordinating, bridal styling in Nashville and South Carolina, assisting an established wedding florist, and managing live entertainment for corporate and bridal events. Hannah has a background in digital marketing and blogging that all started in college and as she recovered from an eating disorder. Her online platform led her to teaching workshops for entrepreneurs and photographers, and she now co-owns a business that styles photo shoots for photographers and vendors in all destinations. Above all else, she is a dog mom, daughter, sister, friend, and an imperfect creative. Her story has had its ups and downs, but she wouldn't change a thing because it has made her into the woman she is today. Let's welcome Hannah to the podcast as we get to know her and her story better. Let's do it. Welcome to the Refined Sisterhood podcast. We are your hosts, Maddie and Kate, and we are here to chat about all things motherhood, faith-infused entrepreneurship, and lots of real life. We want you to leave feeling loved, encouraged, and a whole bunch of excitement for where the Lord has you right in this moment. We are so glad you are here. So grab your coffee, matcha, tea, whatever makes you happy, and let's hang out and indulge in some joyful conversations. Yeah. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Refined Sisterhood podcast. Caitlin and Maddie here with our wonderful friend Hannah, and we are so excited for today. We're going to have so much fun talking to her. I met Hannah a couple of years ago over a coffee date, and it was so cool to meet her because being in the photography industry, meeting new friends is so fun, and Hannah has the biggest, most fun personality. Mm-hmm. She loves to talk. I love to hear her talk. And we're just so excited to have her on the podcast today. Yes. And like you guys have heard in the past, we always ask our guests for their fun fact. And we're going to just lead on into that. Hannah's fun fact, she has a tattoo and we want to hear about it. So Hannah, let's talk to us about your tattoo.
Hey guys, I'm so excited to be here today. Yes, I have a tattoo. My tattoo is my family's handwriting. So I got it back in college when I was in a transitional season of my life. And I had a rule for myself. I said, if I'm going to have a tattoo, it has to be something that no one else has in the world. And of course, handwriting is one of those things. So my family's very small. It's just my mom, my dad, and my sister, and myself before I got married. And they wrote out, I love you. And the I is my sister, the love is my dad, and the you is my mom. And they wrote that out in their handwriting. And I got it tattooed right on my left side. And I often forget it's there, but I love it. And people, as I mentioned, people always laugh when I tell them I have a tattoo because, like I said, I guess I don't give off tattoo vibes, but I love it. And yeah, my fun fact.
I love so that. Funny. I want a tattoo so bad, but I'm terrified of needles. And I had a baby and still it scares me. And I told Caitlin, the only way I'm going to be able to get a tattoo is if she just books the appointment and says we're going somewhere and then we walk in, because then I won't back out, because then I'll be all right, I'm a grown woman. I have to do this. I cannot act like a child here.
I'm the same. I made an appointment and it was planned for 6 months. And then randomly I woke up one day and said, I'm not patient. I'm going to just walk into a tattoo place. And I got it by myself while my parents were at a cookout. And I just left the house, got the tattoo and came home. And they were
love it.
Hannah, what is up with you? I said, gotta do it. Life's short.
Yes. I love it. It's that college life crisis. You want something and you're I'm not waiting for it. Give it to me. Give it to me now too.
I feel a lot of people in college can relate to that where you
oh yeah. I've always wanted one, but I don't have one either. But I keep telling Maddie I'm going to make a sun appointment. I just need someone to draw one for me. But anyways, I love that.
Don't go into it unless you're fully confident and like want to do it, because it is on you forever.
I know. It's crazy.
We need to just do it.
I literally think I'll have anxiety starting right now. Kit was like, well, we have an appointment in a month. Like, I would literally be like, ah! Oh, it's funny. There's going to be one day I'm going to be like, hey, Maddie, we're recording podcast today. And instead I like walk into her house and I'm like, okay, let's get in the car and go. Time to get a tattoo.
I support it. I will be your supporter.
Okay. We have one fan. Okay, yes. Yeah. All right, my girl. Well, we want to hear more about you. So as amazing as your tattoo is, we want to dive deep and hear about your heart. And so we just want you to go ahead and tell our listeners kind of who you are, what made you who you are today. Like, where's your heart at?
Yeah, I am, like I said, I'm so thankful to be here. I think sharing is one of the greatest tools that we have and can do, especially online. And I've been sharing online for a very long time. So I'm originally from Nashville, Tennessee, and I went to college in Bowling Green, Kentucky. My background was in public relations. I was in a sorority, and I did probably everything. Like, I am such a social butterfly, but sometimes I often spread myself too thin. But
I can relate. We understand.
College for me, I feel like, is where my journey started. I went to college and I grew up in a Christian home and had amazing people that led me to Christ in my life. But when I went to college, it kind of went, you know, you're transitioning from high school to college. It just would go in and out. And I was a dancer, and I know I'm going around everywhere, but it does make sense. So I also, in high school, I danced for 10 years. I was a competitive dancer. And when I started transitioning, kind of going to church all the time, to trying to be the cool kid, hanging out with all the friends. Well, as all girls know, girls are hard. Relationships with your girlfriends can be really hard. Well, in college, I started to like negatively look at myself when I felt left out or I didn't get invited to the thing. And I stopped going to church, and I honestly just started going down a big rabbit hole with my dancing and just not eating. And so when I went to college, I was diagnosed with an eating disorder. I had anorexia nervosa, for those that don't know. And it's when I just really went down into a negative space in college. And this is when kind of everything clicked into gear for me. So like I said, I was a social butterfly. I never wanted to say no to anything, but that eating disorder and that anxiety kind of took over my life. Well, when I went to Bowling Green at WKU, God showed up, and I always get goosebumps when I share this story, because I remember I drove to my first class, and I met a girl who was in my sorority, and she said, "Hey, I'm going to take you to Bible study." And I was like, "Hi, I'm Hannah. Nice to meet you." What? And she said, "Yes, I'm going to pick you up from your dorm, and we're going to a Bible study, pretty much whether you like it or not." And I was like, "Well, okay. I want to go to everything. I want to be a part and all the stuff." So I hop in her car and I went to this Bible study, and y'all, I was sweaty and red and nervous. And I don't know why. I grew up, I don't know. I was just very nervous. And I started going to this Bible study every week. And that's when those women started showing up in my life and seeing my health and how it was declining with my eating disorder. And I remember one day, this new girl came up to me. It's probably about a year into going to my Bible study. And she said, "Hey, God pretty much told me to take you to coffee, and we're going to go to coffee." She was like, "I felt you on my heart." I said again, "Hi, I'm Hannah. Nice to meet you." But here I go, of course, hopping into another person's car. And I said, "Yes, I will go get coffee." And so she just started leading me in such a great direction. So this is when the Lord truly preps you. He was purposely placing all these women into my life. And around that time, I was going through a breakup. This was before I am now married, which I will totally get into later because he is a huge part of my story. But I went through this breakup. My health was really declining, and these women were just being such lights. But I didn't realize how much I needed them until I kind of hit a low. I started struggling really bad with anxiety, and my health, pretty much, my doctors were telling me, Hannah, if you don't get control of your health, like you'll probably struggle with having children one day. And so I'm a sophomore in college at this point, and I'm so thankful to have the women who like brought me back to Christ. And I was feeling, of course, super weak and emotional in this part of my life, and kind of alone, still kind of struggling with, figuring out the people I wanted to surround myself with and what I wanted to do with my career. Because once you're in college, they start asking you all the questions. Like, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? And I luckily had women in my life who were like, where's your heart wanting you to go? Where does God leading you to go? And so I kind of mixed my passion for public relations, my major, and I started a blog. I started a blog called Courageously Made. My maiden name is Kerr, Kerr. And coming from one of my favorite Bible verses, I said, okay, well, that's a cool name. And I started blogging. I started journaling when I got back into Bible study and started going to church in college. And it was so therapeutic for me. And that's kind of how I learned I had an eating disorder, because I would like write out these anxious thoughts I was feeling regarding food and social settings and things like that. And I was so excited, I remember, but nervous. I put out my first blog and I went on a walk around campus. And I remember someone looked at me and said, hey, I saw your blog. Thank you so much for sharing. I feel like a lot of people needed to hear that. And I said, what? Hi, great. So awkward. I was like, really? Great. So I kind of took that as God being like, okay, keep it going, keep on doing what you're doing. So I started putting out blog posts about anxiety and relationship building and just sharing truths as a woman. In that age, I was, I believe, 21 at this point, and I'm 26 now. So I started blogging for years, and it was a great healing journey for me. I started recovery, and it came with a lot of ups and downs. I will say that blogging wasn't always the cool thing to do, shocking as that is, and kind of going against, the status quo of things, always having your phone out, always trying to take pictures. I think I got in another rabbit hole of, oh, am I doing this for myself, or am I doing this to serve others? Mm-hmm. So college was a huge learning curve for me as I was figuring out what I wanted to do with my career while also finding out the woman I want to be. And that is when my now husband comes into play. He's a huge part of my journey. His name's Nick. Shout out to Nico. So I met Nick when I was in the 5th grade. We were 10 years old. He was my first kiss. He was my best friend.
Oh,
yeah, I know. Like, why am I getting red? I've been married for 2 years. But he was one of those stable people in my life who, after the breakup, he was the first person I called. I remember when I was going through my hard time with anxiety and my eating disorder, he drove up in college to Bowling Green. He went to school at USC, South Carolina. See, South Carolina's getting there. I haven't hit that part of my life yet, but he showed up and he looked at my pillow on my bed and he saw mascara stains on it. And he said, come with me. So he grabbed my hand. He grabbed all the pillows on my bed and all the shorts that I couldn't fit into anymore as I was in my recovery season, gaining weight and trying to better myself. And he threw it in the dumpster and said, we're going to Target. So we went to Target and he bought me a swimsuit and just was telling me how beautiful I was and how my journey's just starting. And that's when I said, I'm going to marry you. And I started applying jobs to South Carolinas.
Oh my gosh, that is so sweet.
I'm telling you, I mean, I feel like when God puts those people in your life, and I was on this road of blogging and I knew I wanted to become a strong mom one day. And I was like, okay, I can do this. I was feeling motivated. And I started applying to jobs in South Carolina. Now I'm the first person in my family to ever move. So I was very nervous, but I just felt this peace of God being like, you need to go there. That's what you need to do. So I said, well, okay, whatever you say, it's worked so far. You put friends in my life and, have helped me to my healing. So I took my first job I could here. And that's what brought me to Greenville. So Nick is in medical school. Actually, he just graduated. Woohoo. Congrats to all those people. But he came here and I was working this full-time job at a corporate company and still blogging on the side. And I just wasn't feeling happy. I mean, I should have had everything I wanted. Like I was finally with Nick. My health was better. I moved and I was still blogging, which made me very happy, but I just wasn't. Something was missing. And then I started getting some bloggers asking me to take photos of them. And I said, well, sure. I guess I take photos of my food and fashion and, products. Sure. I'll take photos of you. So I started taking photos for people and I just was happier. I would get off my work at 9 to 5 job, and I would go off and photograph, and I would talk to Nick about it all night. And I found that I was so happy. And a few months went by and I said, Nick, how do I make money and be this happy? I didn't click with me. I just didn't get it. I was so lost. And I said, there's got to be a way. I see these women online doing it all the time. Yeah. And he said, well, maybe start charging for photos. I said, what? Me? What? And I remember, so I started doing that. And when you feel super bad about it at first, I think all the entrepreneurs out there, you're like, what? Am I worthy enough to ask people for money? But you are worthy. By the way, you can do it. So I started that, and I have always loved weddings. So if anyone knows me, I'm a lovey-dovey person. I love love. I'm as sensitive as it gets, from journaling, from long distance letter writing with Nick, and, put on, Hillsong United in the car. I'm probably crying. That is. And I remember I've worked in weddings for so long with public relations. I never thought I would shoot weddings, photograph weddings, until someone came up to me and said another God thing, hey, I think you need to second shoot a wedding with me. And her name's Kelly McBee. I know if you're listening, you are a star. Another wonderful business entrepreneur. And she said, I think you should second shoot a wedding with me. I said, no, I'm good. No, thanks. And she said, if you hate it, you hate it. But I think you need to. And so you're coming. And so again, it was like in college where those girls were like, I'm taking you to Bible study. Get in the car. Kelly said, grab your camera. You're going to come shoot this wedding with me. And I've never looked back. I fell so in love with weddings, seeing God's presence there, seeing the light, and just incorporating the art and the business and everything. And that is kind of how my career started. Starting my own photography business. And, I'm saying all this in such a short period of time, but I went from, my overall goal was, I just want to be happy. I want to live a fulfilled life full of just feeling a lot of light and a lot of peace. And in a broken world that we live in, that's really hard to come by. And I think in your 20s, you're thrown a lot of challenges. And I remember some people in college would tell me, Hannah, why do you live in this bubble, this bubble of light and flowers and love. And I said, because it's the greatest thing and it's out there. And
agreed.
For so long, I was looking at myself so poorly that I just didn't, as soon as I said, okay, God, like I need help. Like I want to feel better. I want to be the best. I want to like serve others, and I can't serve other people if I'm not serving myself. So I remember being in college, being like, take my life, take it, work it, do it. It's yours. And ever since then, I just felt him go, okay, finally, Hannah, thanks for asking. And people started showing up and following my journey here. And I try to, be fully authentic with my brides when telling them, nothing's perfect. I know online you see all these beautiful wedding photos, and I'm probably, while editing them, stuffing, food in my face, crying. So I'm like, this is beautiful. But God always shows up, because I even once had a bride who also went through an eating disorder reach out to me, and we bonded over it. And just being able to serve her and be like, look at us, you're marrying the love of your life. You're beautiful. You're beautifully made how he wanted you to be. And me getting to share my hardships to make someone's day better. I think that's what we need to do every day.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's so cool listening to you talk. You started off saying like, oh, I'm the social butterfly. Like I sometimes spread myself too thin. And it's funny because I feel like you spreading yourself too thin, God was like, okay, well, if she's going to spread herself thin, I'm going to put these people in her life who she can't say no to. And she's going to get in the car with this person and this person, and this person's going to tell her what to do. It's so cool how like sometimes like our flaws, like God uses those, and like, it's so cool how he like put those people directly in your life. And you were like, okay, cool. Like, let me just go. And like, that's so awesome, because even though like you said you do like spread yourself thin and like you love to be social and you love to be with people, like he gave you those opportunities, not just to like, for them to not have purpose. Like, it's like he had a purpose the entire time, and he like used those as like stepping stones. And you had so many stepping stones to get to where you are now. And like, there was so much growth in that.
Absolutely. I felt like someone asked me once, if you could go back and change anything about your story, would you? And I said, absolutely not. I would go through my recovery 10 times again. I would go from moving to, having 10 jobs at once to get to where I am, because I met amazing people, and I love who I am today. And I know that we're imperfect, and I know I will never, be a perfect person. But that's how he makes us, imperfectly beautiful. And it's so great. And I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah, I loved listening to your story. I mean, I've read like your blogs before, and I obviously follow you on Instagram, and I know you personally. So like, I knew a lot about your story. So I was really excited to have you on this episode. But the thing is, in our 20s, we have a bunch of realizations. We're trying to grow up. We are not under our parents anymore. So we go to college and like we have freedom, but also like sometimes freedom isn't always good, because we're like having to figure out all these new things while doing school and making new friendships, which is hard. I know me, Kaylin, and you we are all three very big social butterflies. Yeah, but I remember going to college and being like, oh no, I got to make new friends. Like, this is a lot. And like, when you're already trying to like learn all these new things about yourself, and you're thrown into a new environment, and then you've got school on top of that. And like, even past college, like when you're having kids or just getting into a career, it's so like tricky. And, and you're like, I think growing up, you're taught that you have one career in life. Like you have, like, this is what you're going to do. This is what I want to be when I grow up, right? Like we have this one thing. And then when we get out of college, for me and Caitlin both, like we use our degrees that we have, but it's not what we thought we were going to be doing when we were in college. And it's so cool to see how we had no idea. And we walked through that season of being in college and thinking we knew what we wanted to do. And then now we just are walking in like the Lord's faithfulness and his goodness. And it's not exactly what we thought, but it was
right. I
like,
never thought I would be a wedding photographer, you guys.
No, I didn't know anything about photography before I started. And I was out of college before when that happened.
Same.
And it's just so cool because looking back, I see all the steps that I took, the doors that the Lord closed, the doors that the Lord opened in college. And I didn't know why. I was like, no, like, that's not what I want. Like, I want this. But then I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, it all makes sense. So much sense.
Oh, it totally does. And you mentioned this, and this sparked a conversation I just had about being in this season of life. It is really hard to make friends as an adult. I think that isn't talked about enough.
No, yeah.
And, especially you see online people doing all these things and you're working here, you're going there, but you guys, like, it's real. And I'm about to do it all over again. The Lord's calling us somewhere else. So we're actually moving to Birmingham, Alabama. And again, I felt that peaceful feeling, just like I did moving here. So I said, here we go. Okay, round 3.
That's so cool.
So I'm very excited, but I think it's great to be truthful in the fact that, y'all, I'm totally scared, like making new friends. And I know God will put those people that he are meant to be in my life, but you have to be able to receive it too.
Yeah.
God's always going to be there to be like, hey, I got you. Here's what you need. But if I'm not open to receive it, then it's just going to be harder. So I think that's a good reminder that, I actually was journaling this morning, prepping for this podcast, and kind of my topic was letting go. You have to let go and like let God. It's like one of my favorite sayings. And that's when you see the magic happen. I
for sure.
let go of my fear and finally ate a slice of pizza in college for the first time in 3 years. And did I cry while doing it? Yes, but I did it. And now I eat pizza once a week with Nick, and it's great. Multiple times a week, probably. And, I think just not being afraid of the unknown in this season of our life can be so exciting.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I'm excited for you because I feel like you said, you're a social butterfly. And I feel like you are one of those people that like, you're going to go and you're going to put yourself out there in a new place. And, but you're right. Like as far as friendships as an adult, especially like those deep friendships that like you have someone to like hold you accountable and to like walk through life with. Like, I know you're so thankful to have Nick by your side and you're going to like have him, but then those girlfriends I feel like you yourself, like you're going to do great in Alabama because I feel like you're going to go and you're going to find the photographer friends. And
I've already messaged 5 girls to have coffee. If you're listening, I hope you say yes. I have 5 girls on Instagram and all the things. And I call those girls like your level 10 friends. I actually learned that in my Bible study in college. You got those level 10 friends. And it's okay not to have 20 of them. I have my circle of them and I will do anything for them. And you have to have those people that you call and at the end of the day where you cry. And I still have my weekdays, of course. I think we all do. And so you're so kind to have those encouraging words thrown my way as I pack up my house. I'm literally doing this podcast with a huge a pile of boxes right beside me.
Yeah. So crazy. I also want to say something else about your story. How a lot of times when we're walking through something, specifically like when you went through something that isn't glamorous, it isn't something that you necessarily would want to walk through, like an eating disorder. Through that, the Lord like is using your story and specifically using your story in your career. Like you said, like with your bride, like you're getting at that time, you probably didn't know like how this was going to be redeemed at all. You probably were like, okay, this sucks. Like, I just want to get over it. Like, I don't want to walk through this anymore. But now like full circle, the Lord has like really redeemed that story. And also like he's allowing you in your career, something you love. Like you said, you wanted to do something you love that you could make money doing and you're walking in that and you're getting to use your testimony and like it's all aligning together. And that is just so cool. Yeah, exactly. So I love getting to watch that for you
because God will prep you. And I've had I've had panic attacks in my life. And once I was with a bride and she was having a panic attack and I went in mom mode and was just like, we're going to have a live chat here. And it was one of the best moments I think I've ever had while working. And I wasn't even photographing. Like I was just sitting and talking with her, and I'll never forget it. And I remember exactly where I was. And that's what, just building that community, and he will fully prep you to handle anything thrown your way. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I think Kayla and I both have stories too in our careers where we look back and we're like, okay, wow, I see the Lord at work. And I know for me, every wedding day or session, I've always prayed over that the Lord would allow me to be the hands and feet of Jesus, and that I would be very present and intentional on a wedding day. And I know I think you've heard my story. So it's very similar. It's things I pray that and I'm like, okay, Lord, I didn't know you were going to do that much on a wedding day, or something something crazy. But it's so cool how when we allow ourselves to be vulnerable and transparent and intentional and very present, he's going to work through us. And like you said, she was having a panic attack, and you've worked through that, previously in your life, and you were able to be her stableness and just talk her through it on her wedding day. You dropped your career and you were just able to love her because of who you are. And that's just so cool when your career and your beliefs and who you are and your past align. It's just so cool.
Oh, yeah. It is. It literally gives me goosebumps. I call them God stories, and I love sharing them. And I don't know, it's just, there are really no words, but I know that I want to also, speak to the people that are maybe in that season of their life where maybe they're not seeing these huge revelations of, oh God, I see you. Wow. I think that takes a lot of time of just learning about yourself. And, my journey has been going on for years and years and years. And I know it's going to keep changing, and I'm going to go through my own battles, but I always want to tell girls, he will meet you where you are, and it's okay if you're not in the same season as someone else, just because you can't compare yourself to someone in their chapter 22 when you're in your chapter 2. You just can't.
Exactly.
It's just, but as long as you're moving in the same direction and pushing yourself and believing in yourself, you will get there. And that's kind of what pushes me when I go down. Yeah.
That's amazing. So beautiful. And, I don't know, mic drop, because I have no words other than I completely agree. I fully believe that. I know Maddie fully believes that. And, before you go, I know you just kind of gave a little bit of advice, but for everyone, we just want to know, if you could be remembered for one thing, what would it be? And if there's any advice in that you want to give our listeners, go for it.
Oh, this is a heavy question. No, I have to really think about this one. What do I want to be remembered by? I want to be a light. I think that's been my word through college and life. I want to be a light. I just want to hopefully bring not only beautiful photographs to people's memories, but to just be that smile. I always think of that story when just one smile walking down a hallway, you never know what someone else is, what someone's going through. And just that little smile could change their life. So many people didn't know about my anxiety with food until, I had those people that were those lights, and they might not know how much they changed my life, but they did. So I hope that I get remembered. I can be remembered that way, even though I do have my cranky days. Gosh, advice that I know I've given a lot of pieces of advice, but I think my favorite piece of advice is don't compare your chapter 2 to someone's chapter 20.
Yeah.
I think that's one of my favorite sayings. I wrote it on a sticky note, because you'll always be just chasing, and not realizing that there are people that are looking up to you in their chapter 1. So always just be present. And I know that all the listeners, this is such an amazing podcast and community. And I really hope that you feel encouraged today and just feel loved.
That's so good, Hannah. And we are so proud of you. And the one thing that you want to be remembered for, being a light, you're doing that.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Before I even met you for the first time, like just seeing you on Instagram, like you represent light. You are so like, when you think about Hannah, I don't ever think like sad or like, I literally think like she's just like this bubbly, like you said, little social butterfly, happy, like all the time. And so you're doing that. So
thank you.
Good job.
The light of Jesus, it shines radiantly through you. And I feel like there are so many people who you've been the hands and feet of Jesus too. And that's what we're called to do. And it's kind of funny because that's actually like the same why behind my business. And I hope people can look at me and think the same thing.
They do. You guys are, I'm so happy I opened this podcast. Like,
for sure. Cool. We believe that so many people were just encouraged listening to your story because I feel like you've walked through so much in like the last, 5 to 7 years. And it's really cool to like hear how like you can go from just being, not so like, you feel like you don't necessarily have that much purpose and like you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel and you don't see the steps and you're just like in that moment and you're like, how do I get to where I want to be? But it's so cool to like listen to all of those steps that you've been through and see like the Lord has his hand on each little thing and every single part of your story. Like he can use that. And so you're being a light and I say, keep going because you're amazing.
Thank you.
Yes. Hannah, it was so great having you on the podcast. It's such an honor and we love you. I hope you know that. We love you. We love following and supporting and encouraging you. And I know that, like Caitlin said, I fully believe everything you said today is going to speak to someone. So you did awesome. And before you go, I want you to shamelessly plug yourself. Tell us how they can find you, website, Instagram, blog, all the things.
Perfect. Well, if you want to follow along, my website is hannahobremskey.com and my social media is Hannah Obremskey Photo. And I hope to see you guys online and to hear about y'all's stories. And we hope that you just feel loved today. And thank you so much for having me. I loved being on today.
Absolutely. We so enjoyed it. And if you want to go follow her and find anything, just check the show notes. But thank you guys so much for listening. We know you were encouraged today. And don't forget to come back next week because we post new episodes every Wednesday. And we hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Bye.
We had so much fun getting to hang out with you today, and we hope that you are feeling encouraged, loved, and full of purpose.
If you've enjoyed today's podcast episode, we would absolutely love it if you would write us a review so that we can hear how we encouraged you. And if you haven't subscribed, go do that right now. Also, you can join the sisterhood by finding us on Instagram at The Refined Sisterhood.
Okay, friend, we hope you have the best week, and we will see you in the next episode.